Welcome back to the channel, my lovely, lovely audience. Earlier this year, back in the month of July, I did a best books of 2020 so far that I had read up to that point. Now, that included 3 honorable mentions, which were Stormfront, book 1 of the Dresden Files, The Poppy War, which is book 1 of The Poppy War, and Hero of Ages, which was book 3 of Erewhon Mistborn. And as of July of 2020, my top 5 books that I had read were The Final Empire, book 1 of the Mistborn trilogy, Golden Sun, which is book 2 of the Red Rising series, Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, which is book 1 of the Burning, The Shadow Rising, which is book 4 of the Wheel of Time, and finally Valor by John Gwynne, which is book 2 of The Faithful and the Fallen. Now, I definitely expected to be onto Ruin by now, and that would likely be on my top 5 right now. I have not gotten to it yet. Real life continues to beat me over the head. But here are my 2 honorable mentions and top 5 best books of 2020 second half that I've read this year. Now then, first and foremost, my honorable mentions are going to be Night Shadow, which is book 2 of the Greatcoats series by Sebastian de Castell. Now, this was a fantastic sequel to Traitor's Blade. Almost broke into my top 5. There were just some other kick-ass books that I read that really beat this out. I absolutely adored Traitor's Blade, and I felt like Night Shadow kind of grew and expanded on everything in that book and made it better. It just wasn't quite good enough to break my top 5. And you'll see why here shortly. Honorable mention number 2, mostly because I haven't finished it yet. I anticipate this probably, I don't know, this probably would have made the top 5. I feel like it's 5.5. It's just outside of it because of what my top 5 are. Brian Lee Durfee, The Forgetting Moon. This book kicks ass. I will likely be finishing it either what's today? Tuesday? Wow. Wednesday or Thursday of this week that I'm filming this. And I will be on to Ruin then. So both of those books I kind of expected to break into my top 5 of the second half. Again, it is tough. The competition is fierce. You'll see why in a second. But The Forgetting Moon, Brian Lee Durfee, wow, what a surprise this book is. Many, many props to Brian, sir, for sending this signed, beautiful, gorgeous book of yours, and The Blackest Heart, of course, book 2, and to my Discord for Brent, Scott, and everybody else that is reading this or has already read it and really hyped it up for me. This book is killing it. Pleasantly surprised by, honestly, just how good it is. I didn't know what to expect exactly, just because Brian's personality on his channel is so different than this just incredible epic fantasy tale that he's woven together here. The prose is gorgeous. There are plenty of adult themes and situations, and this book's adult. I'll leave it at that. That is, oh man, there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of swearing. There's a lot of up things that happen in this book, and I'm loving every second of it. I definitely see the parallels to John Gwynne's writing, and I feel like this is a good blend of the incredible description that somebody like a Robert Jordan will write, but also the incredibly approachable and more easy to digest John Gwynne writing. So it's a good balance in between those two, and if you've read Faithful and the Fallen and or Wheel of Time, you can kind of picture what I'm talking about, because there is a lot of description in this book, but it's not quite bogged down to what the Wheel of Time can get sometimes in just its wealth of description. I feel like he has struck a fantastic balance between approachable and just lush detail of the setting, what people are wearing, what they look like especially. That's where a lot of the detail focuses it on. You know exactly what these people look like, and that's fantastic. The story so far has just been visceral. I would not live in this world. I know there was a question on a video a while back, was like, what fantasy world would you live in? Not this one. This place is terrible. But it's a really good book. Read it. And Brian Lee Durfee is awesome. All right, so I'm going to try my best to actually rank these. Let's go with number 5, which is going to be Grave Peril by Jim Butcher. I love the Dresden Files, and I really need to get back to it. I had Death Masks on my December TBR. Guys, there's just, with 2 kids and a full-time job, shit gets away from me sometimes. I'm reading The Forgetting Moon. I'm going to get to Ruin. I'm just going to run out of time before I can even get to this or Holy Sister, or Death Masks or Holy Sister, unfortunately. But Grave Peril, beautiful book. This was, so far, my favorite Dresden Files book. This is book 3. Some people have Summer Night at this point as their favorite, but basically for me, my journey so far with the Dresden Files was I really, really loved Stormfront. Full Moon was okay. I loved Grave Peril. This grew on everything. I have a full review up on the channel of this, so I'm not going to go too deep into what this really does to the series, but it expands it in every way. It grows the world beyond just the urban setting of Chicago. Harry is just a fantastic character, one of the best protagonists that I've read in all of fantasy. He's hilarious. I love reading about him and just seeing the world through his eyes because he's great. And Grave Peril kicks a lot of ass. And Summer Night, while also really, really good, just it wasn't quite there for me as far as Grave Peril was. I just think this book was better. Okay, coming in at number 4 is Evan Winter once again. You've made it on here twice. The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. Burning, number 2. I have a full review of all these books, by the way, but this book in particular, again, just it gave me exactly what I wanted out of this sequel. I wanted more of the same from Rage of Dragons in the prose, the pacing, the action, Tao being an interesting character to me, but I really needed to see him grow as a character and not just be full of revenge as his sort of only driving point. I needed more from the side characters to get to know them a little bit better and have it not just be about Tao. I wanted to learn more about the world and have better world building and learn more about Isihogo and these other clans and things that are warring in this, this overall kingdom. And this book gave me all of that. It made Tao a more well-rounded character and gave him a lot more personality and internal battles that he has to deal with. Jabari and the other, Siora, all these other side characters, Tao's entire group that he, continues to battle with from the first book, Uduak, all these people, Hadith, they're all great characters, and they grow so much in this book. Just the magic system gets even more interesting. You learn more about who the Omehe people are, but this book is fantastic. It gives you more dragons. It gives you more combat. It gives you, honestly, some horror and super grimdark aspects as well at times. It was fantastic. I absolutely love this book. Coming in at number 3 for the second half of 2020 as my best reads, Frank Herbert's Dune. Now, this, again, blew me away. I have a vlog up for it, which was kind of like the one and only reading vlog that I've ever done, and a full non-spoiler review. This is a masterpiece of science fiction, in my opinion. I am going to continue the series at least up through what Frank Herbert wrote. Maybe I'll give the Brian Herbert stuff a try eventually. I'm not in a hurry to do that. I will likely get back to some of the sequels in either February or March. But this, this is a thinking man sci-fi. It is pretty slow. The structure is sort of difficult to get into. There are a lot of names, a lot of terms that are just kind of thrown at you, and you just have to roll with it. It is not going to hold your hand. This is not Red Rising, where that is very sci-fantasy and easy to get through. Dune really makes you think. Frank Herbert, honestly, was sort of a genius in crafting this story and world down to the very minute details. It is thought-provoking. Just read this book. If you want a great sci-fi story that has a lot of fantasy elements in it, not a lot of combat, but will seriously make you think and consider the words on the page, read Dune. It is absolutely incredible. And also, sandworms are just fucking awesome. All right, coming in at number 2 for the second half of 2020, top 5 best books that I've read would be The Dragon Republic. R.F. Kuang does it again. She was an honorable mention in the first half. This is one of the best books that I've read all year. The Dragon Republic, again, I have a full review of that as well, spoiler free. Wow. I mean, the level up in the writing, the expansion of the world and the magic system, Rin growing as a character. Again, the side characters getting more time, more depth. The dialogue is incredible. This is super adult and very dark. There's a theme going on here. I really like grimdark, apparently. These books are messed up, man. And this, I said in my review, R.F. Kuang just does such a great job of pulling from actual history and tying a nice fantasy bow on it to present it in a slightly different way. The way that these books are written, the action is fantastic. The pacing is great. They are true page turners in every sense of the word. There are serious dark moments that really make you feel for these characters, and just the world that they live in can be so shitty. But the books are fantastic. This one met and exceeded all of my expectations for what I loved in the Poppy War, and the Dragon Republic just kicked its ass in every single way. This book was so good, and I cannot wait to read The Burning God in a couple of weeks. And finally, number 1, and this might just be number 1 overall for 2020. As you may have noticed in the last video and up until now, there is one big series that I haven't talked about yet, and that would be the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. God damn, Words of Radiance was a freaking fantastic book. Hands down, one of the best books that I've read all year long. Definitely the best book that I've read in the second half of 2020. I absolutely love this book. I thought Oathbringer was also incredible. That probably deserves an honorable mention. Words of Radiance. Wow. This really solidified my love for Kaladin Stormblessed as a character. I think Brandon Sanderson killed it in every way possible with this book. The pacing. I mean, this book is not short, right? Like, if you've read a Stormlight book, them's be big books. The character work really stepped it up after not loving some of it in The Way of Kings. This really makes you love Kaladin as a character. If you don't like Kaladin after this book, I don't know how to help you. He is obviously sort of the main character of this entire book series so far, and I'm here for all of it. He is damaged, as many of the characters are in this world, but everything he does, like, he's so passionate and caring and also a total badass, and you love this entire world that Brandon Sanderson has created. This is when, like, by the end of The Way of Kings, I was on board, but not totally sold. Words of Radiance, from page 1 to the very finale, I was so locked in on this series. Words of Radiance had so many moments that got me hyped and almost made me scream out loud. I mean, just some of the lines that Kaladin drops in this book, some of the fantastic character moments and scenes. If you read these, you probably know some of them that I'm talking about. Just, there were, I don't even know what to say. I have a full review of this book, of me gushing over it. It is worth every bit of praise that it gets. Again, whereas Way of Kings I didn't think deserved quite the amount of praise on it, I probably would change my mind a little bit now after reading the rest of the series that's out. Jeez, man. Words of Radiance really crushes it, and the action, the world building, the character work, the dialogue, it makes you feel for each and every one of these characters. They're all dynamic, they're all interesting. Even this, the smaller side characters that you meet and get to know, they're all fantastic. It's just, this book blew me away, and I don't know what would have topped it this year that I've read. I've read a ton of good books, and there are some serious contenders for probably the number 2 and 3 spot. If I had to say it off the top of my head, I would probably have Dragon Republic, Fires of Vengeance, Golden Sun, and then Dune right behind it. Like, that would probably be my top 5 of the year. I'll have to seriously sit down and think about it. But Words of Radiance, clear number one for me this year. I absolutely love it. If you're not reading Stormlight, what are you doing? You're missing out. Even though I didn't love all of Rhythm of War like some of you have, Words of Radiance, it's going to be hard for Sanderson to top that. Maybe with book 5 because it's going to be the end of the first arc, but wow. Words of Radiance, fantastic book. Clear number one. I loved it. And that is going to do it for my top 5 of the second half of 2020. I know I was a little bit mixing earlier this year and this as well, but if you want a top 10, this is going to be number 1. There you go. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Like and subscribe. As always, do hit up Patreon if you want to support the channel. That's, of course, always optional, but always appreciated. Do jump in Discord, though, or leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on my personal top 5 of the second half of 2020. If you want to go back and watch my July video and kind of get a feel for everything that I've read this year and the top 10 overall that I've kind of been talking about, be sure to let me know in the comments down below your favorite books of the year, top 5, top 10, whatever it may be. I would love to hear your opinions on what I've read and what your personal favorites are for the year. So that is going to wrap up 2020 because my next review will be in 2021. So until next time, everybody, keep reading.